Hey, it's Ted McGrath. So in this video, I'm going to share with you story selling to help you close more deals online. So I'm going to break it down into a couple different parts here. And most people think when they're going to sell something that they have to have this phenomenal presentation, which is true. But selling can be a lot easier than you think if you have story selling as your baseline for how you sell anything to anyone at any time without feeling like you're in the sale. So I'm going to break down right now real quickly a couple different parts that are important to story selling to tell a really good story. Now, I've used this story selling technique on stages first and foremost. I've been on stages for the last 2 decades of my life. And I use story to sell millions and millions of dollars from the stage, to move entire rooms of audiences, not only into tears, but into action through story selling. And so I'm going to break it down for you right now of exactly how I do it. And I think it's going to open your eyes to some pretty cool things because you can use it in one-on-one presentations. You can use it on a stage. You can use it on a webinar. You can use it on a podcast. You can use it in a sales video. You can use it on a sales page. You can use this anywhere because people love stories, and story selling is the best thing to do. So let me break it down for you. I'm also going to give you a viewpoint on this, not just as somebody who tells stories from the stage or tells stories to sell things online. I also have written a one-man stage play on my life story. So I play about 12 different characters over the course of 65 minutes. And so in telling a story to keep people's attention, there is a formula to do it. And I'm going to bring in some of my entertaining storytelling skills as well as my sales skills in storytelling and combine both of them to give you a different viewpoint here. Okay. So the first thing to think about with story is think about the customer first. And so there's some dilemma that your customer's in, and the story exists to help them overcome that dilemma or that problem or that conflict that they're in. All right. Now, you could look at any area of somebody's life if you're going to get to them to move into action on something. Typically, you have different objections that come up. So you could have time that comes up for somebody, and you could come up with a time story that addresses time. You can have money that comes up as an issue with somebody, and you can tell a money story about a time where you didn't have money and you overcame that, and you can tell a money story. There's somebody's belief that they can't do this thing, so you can tell success stories about customers. And when I talk about success stories, I don't just mean like, hey, my customer, used to be like this and now he's like this and ta-da. That's not a story. I'm talking about the art of storytelling here to engage somebody. So you can have success stories. You can have stories of loss, like, where you were the underdog and you were like, all hope was lost and you came back from a all hope is lost situation. You can have stories on that. So really, you want to use stories to help a customer break through the conflict that they're in, and also let go of a belief that they might have about it that's not actually true. All right. So people come into, sales situations all the time with preconceived beliefs. And so if your story can help them break that belief, or your story can help them move through that conflict or problem, you've won. Okay. So number one, think about your client first. Hugely important, because if you come from your viewpoint, being an expert in your industry or your space, then ultimately what happens is you're only coming with your perspective, and you're not coming with the client's perspective. So typically, if I'm trying to sell you something, and I've been in the space of doing this for 10 years or 20 years, and I'm trying to sell somebody who's been doing it for a year, I have a totally different viewpoint. And so I'm thinking in present time, 10 years into my industry versus a client who's maybe 1 year or 1 month into this space. So I got to rewind the clock and go all the way back to what it was like for me to solve that problem at that time. So first and foremost, you have to look at the conflict that your customer is facing at that time. So you got to rewind the clock to that time. and look at the conflict that they're facing at that time. The second thing you need to do, use in your industry, of big words. So big words aren't going to get it done. If you start to use big words all the time, you're going to lose people. So you got to rewind your vocabulary all the way back to early on when you're where your customer's at, and you got to share a story in a very, very simple terminology, in a very, very simple way that hits their conflict and their problem at that exact time. All right. So I can give you an example of this and kind of break down the bones of it. So that's what I'm going to share right now. So number one, if I look at the aspect of story from this viewpoint of like time, right? So I tell a time story on stage, okay? And this time story is based on years ago, before I went online and before I was able to leverage my time with automated selling online. And so when I look back to this story, it's perfect for my customer whose conflict and dilemma is that they don't actually have time to do two things at once. Okay. So that's a huge component, which is like, all right, the customer is in this time conflict. And so what was it like when I was in that time conflict years ago? And how do I tell a story that overcomes that time conflict of the actual customer's situation right now? So I have to forget about my 10, 20 years of experience storytelling on stages and storytelling online, and also forget about my years of experience in just telling stories in general, and forget about my years of experience in marketing online. And I have to go back to the customer's problem at that moment in time, which for the customers right now, for me, it's 10 years ago. And I have to go, what was it like to be in the customer's shoes? And what is the customer dealing with? And there I come up with a time story. Customer has a problem with time. Customer is in conflict of how do they do two things at once. And this often happens with people who want to build a business online or want to transition to a new business model. They got their current business model and they want to go into a new business model. And the big thing is time. How do I do two things at once? So when I'm constructing this story, I'm going, wow, I'm going to tell a story about being able to do two things at once. And what I want to sell somebody at the end of this story is the fact that they can build an online business and they need to learn about my automated selling machine. And so I'm going to tell a story of exactly how I went from point A, which is where they're at right now, to point B, and take them along the journey to the breakthrough moment. And so every story starts with some type of conflict that the customer is facing, and I got to solve that conflict and put myself in their shoes. Number one. Number two, that conflict, I also label it as like the pit, like the customer's in the pit, and they're like, they're like, they got the dragon breathing fire down their throat. It's like, I'm never going to get out of this thing. I'm in this problem. I'm in this pit moment. I got so much conflict. How do I get out of the pit? And so to get them out of the pit or the conflict, you got to take them on a search for the answers. And you got to take them along the search until there's a moment of breakthrough where it happens, and then the customer sees the solution. But if I just go, hey, Mr. Customer, I was in your shoes once facing that problem, and now today I've reached 50 million people across the globe and sold $50 million online. If I say that, it's so out reality for the customer. It doesn't resonate with the customer of where they're at with their belief system, with their problem and their conflict, and it doesn't show them the step-by-step process of how I overcame this to make it real to them. So storytelling needs to make it real to them, all right? So when I tell this story on stage, I'll let people know that I was in Chipotle meeting with one of my my future director or potential director to write my one-man play. And so I remember walking into Chipotle, and I sat down across the table from this guy named Patrick, and he looks at me. He's like, "Hey, Ted," he's like, "why do you want to write a one-man play?" And I looked at him and I'm like, "Man, have you ever gotten this feeling like you're just called to do something?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he rolls up his sleeves. He's like, "Let's get to work." And so he just starts mapping out on a napkin for me, like how you write a one-man play. And he's telling me, like, if you're going to write a one-man play and tell this story, he's like, speaking on stage is one thing, but like writing a one-man play is like walking the tightrope and he's explaining to me how it goes and what you have to do. And for 60 minutes, you need to tell this story. And so he's got me totally engaged. And at the end of my conversation with Patrick, he's like, great. So if you want to write your one-man play, he goes, he writes down a big number on a napkin and he slides it across the table to me. And he goes, hey, this is the investment to work with me to write your one-man play with you. And that's right, Henry. It's called Good Enough. You know the play. And so, that's Henry in the chat box. So I go, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm interested in doing it. He's like, well, this is the investment. I said, okay. And he goes, and by the way, we start in about 10 days in London. And I'm like, what? London? We're going to go write the one-man play? I'm like, I got a business here. In fact, I have a seminar coming up and I have to go speak on other stages to go film my seminar. I'm like, and that's what I'm thinking in my mind. I'm playing out all these objections, right? Okay. So pause for a second, right? I'm pausing my story. Okay. Pause. So what I'm doing in this story, I'm breaking down how I tell story. What I'm doing is I'm going through in my storytelling the exact conflict my customer faces, which is like, I'm faced with the dilemma to go to London and write my one-man play, or stay here and run my business because I have a seminar coming up and I need to get on stages and I need to film my seminar, and that's how my business runs. That's how I make money. So I have a dilemma. I want to go here, but I'm here, and how am I going to solve the problem? Okay? And that's the conflict. And my customers are listening to the story going, oh my God, I'm in the same place. I want to go here. I'm here. I can't be in two places at once. And in my mind, I'm like, you can be in two places at once. Let me solve the problem for you, okay? So I go on, and I'm back into the story. I'll tell you the story now and finish it, which is I'm back in the story. So now in this particular story that I'm telling, I'm sitting with my director. He's like, $40,000, right? Slides it across the table. And that's what it'll be to work with me to help you write your one-man play. And I'm sitting there going, I got to film my next seminar. I got to be here in San Diego at the time. I got to speak on other stages. I got a seminar coming up. I can't do this. And I was like, screw it. I'm in. I'm like, I'll write you the check. So I get on the phone. I wire the money. I send him the 40 G's. I'm in. Okay. So pause again. So I'm telling this story to somebody who's listening, right? And the goal of my story in this particular case is to sell something. And so what I'm doing there is, number one, I'm addressing the time and the conflict issue. And in the same story, I'm addressing the money of what's going through my head. I've got to do this. I got to do that. And it's a big investment, blah, blah, blah. It's like, screw it. I'm in. I'm going to write the check, which is exactly what I want my customers to do. So back into the story, right? So I'm with Patrick, and I decide with him, okay, great, I'm in. I'm going to do it. Now, in the back of my mind, I have this solution because I've been testing online marketing at that point, and I've been doing some online presentations, and I'd had a little bit of success with some online presentations at this time. And so I'm thinking to myself, if I'm going to go to London and I'm going to write my one-man play, then I need to take the presentation that I created and I need to automate that presentation so I can be in London with my director, watching him perform his one-man play, and I can be writing my one-man play during the day for a couple weeks to get this done. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to London. All right, I got this presentation. I'm going to automate my presentation. I'm going to set up my automated presentation online. I'm going to fly to London, and I'm going to pray that this thing works, because if it doesn't work, my business is in trouble. If it does, my business wins and goes to the next level because I'm selling things online, and then I get to go follow a passion of writing my one-man play. Right? So I'm off. I go to London. I get there. I start writing my one-man play that day with my director. We're writing the play. We're crafting the story. And that night, I go to watch my director's one-man play in London, in the Soho district. And so I'm playing a little game. I'm like, well, I'm either going to win or I'm going to go down in flames. So I'm like, I should have my automated presentation playing at the exact same time that my director's one-man play is going. So it's 6 o'clock in UK time, which is around 10 o'clock in San Diego time. I'm like, I'm going to have my automated presentation play at that time. And so while he's doing his play and I'm watching it in the front row, my automated presentation is going to be playing around the country, different parts of the world. People are going to listen to it. And I'm going to see, as I'm watching this play, if this automated selling machine actually works for me. So I'm there. I'm watching his play. It's amazing. Totally engaged. Funny as hell, right? He's coming to the end of his play. He's about to hit the crescendo. The audience is laughing. He's crushing it, right? And my presentation that's automated online, that's playing at the exact same time as my director's about to hit his crescendo in his one-man play and end it off and get just a standing ovation, I'm about to make my pitch in my automated presentation that's playing online at the exact same time that my director's doing his one-man play on stage. So my director's going. He crushes it. He nails the ending. He gets a standing ovation. Everybody's standing up, and they're like, bravo, bravo, amazing. I'm like, this is incredible. And I'm looking down at my phone to see if I made any damn sales from my automated presentation. And I'm looking down at my phone, and I'm like, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I'm like, shit, man, this isn't good, right? And then I'm like, it's like the fake smile. It's so good, so good, so good. And I'm looking down again, like, there's nothing there. There's no sales coming in. There's no sales coming in. And I'm like, fake smile, applause for my director and his one-man play. And everybody's in genuine admiration. And I'm happy for him, but I'm miserable because there's no sales coming in from my automated presentation. And then all of a sudden, I put my phone down. I see the light and I hear cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And sales are coming in one after the other. $1,000, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000. And I'm making like this hour presentation, like $11,000 as I'm watching my director do his one-man play. And I'm like, amazing. I just figured out how to be in two places at once because I took the risk of following a dream and following a passion of mine that I knew would be something that I would love. And it's part of my basic purpose, which is to go perform my own play and tell stories and influence the world while I have an automated selling machine that's selling for me. I just figured out the golden goose, the golden egg. I've got it now. I can be in two places at once, have a presentation of me that's automated selling online while I'm off on stages, doing my one-man play, performing, sharing my voice, helping the world. And I did it. It was amazing. And I took that automated presentation and I crushed it. And then I eventually, automated more presentations, and I sent tons of traffic to it, lots of advertisement, and eventually went on to do, nearly 50 million in sales as a result of primarily my selling machines online of automated presentations and automated pitches online. And I figured it out. So, and let's not forget, 6 months later, I performed my first one-man play on stage in San Diego at one of the theaters there with 175 people in the room. I had my customers there. I had my peers there. And I just went for it, performing my first one-man play ever, which eventually I then went on to perform at the Edinburgh Festival, the largest fringe festival in the world. I went on to do a 6-week run in Los Angeles. I'm now turning it into a feature film that we're filming in October, where I'm playing myself, and a dream has been born. So pretty cool, right? Now, what did I do in the story? Okay? What did I do in the story? I'm going to break down what I did for you because these are the components and elements of all good storytelling, right? Number one, I presented you with a conflict. I presented the audience with a conflict that they're dealing with right now. So the viewpoint of a story is only tell the story from the viewpoint of the customer and the conflict that they're facing in their life right now. So if I'm going to craft a story, I'm going to sit down and go, number one, okay, great. What are some of the conflicts or challenges that my customers are facing right now of why they don't think they can do this thing? So if it's my stage selling brand where I'm teaching people how to lead seminars or do presentations and sell through presentations, I'll think about the challenges they're facing there. If it's my online brand, Message to Millions, where I'm teaching people how to scale their brands online, then I'm thinking about objections there. So I'm thinking about who is the audience first, but what's the one challenge that they're having as it relates to the product that I'm selling them in present time for them. So I'll go, okay, one, they probably think they're in a business where they're trading time for dollars, right? And if they're not there, they don't make any money. Make sense? Now I experienced this firsthand, like, and this is not getting glum or whatever. We're all good with it. We're fine. We moved on as a family, and we'll keep him in my hearts. My dad just passed away a couple weeks ago. And so while I was going through that, to be with him in ICU and be with him really over the course of a month and a half or multiple weeks at a time, to be with him, like, I had a business that could still run because of these automated presentations, because I don't necessarily trade time for dollars, because I don't work with clients one-on-one. So when I look at my client dilemma, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about their trading time for dollars. So if I'm going to create a story, I'm going to hit the story that has the conflict that they're facing, which is time. And I'm going to bust that thing first, because in their mind, time is a problem. And I've actually 10 years ago or 12 years ago, I could say, wow, yeah, time felt like a problem. It doesn't feel like a problem to me hardly ever at this point in my life. Like, never. I never feel like I don't have enough time. But 12 years ago, I felt like time was an issue. So I put myself in a customer's shoes and I'm like, okay, time, they're trading time for dollars. So I should naturally tell them a time story where I had a conflict with time. And then I go, great. So I'm gonna tell them a time story in my pitch. Now, wouldn't it be great too? Because now they're thinking they're trading time for dollars. So they also have a money problem. Because if they're trading time for dollars, their income ceiling is capped, because it's only their time at work and they only have so much time. There's only so much money you can make with your time. So I'm like, in this one story, if I can get in time and I can get in money, oh, heck, man. I could tell the story that overcomes 2 objections. And you'll notice in the story that I just told, I start off with the time conflict. The conflict is like, oh my God, I'm presented with this great opportunity. And what happens with entrepreneurs all the time? They're always presented with great opportunities, right? So they have that problem too. You have entrepreneurial ADD, another opportunity, want to do it, can't reach, don't have the time. So now we have a time issue, we have a money issue in the story, and we have an opportunity issue. So there's 3 objections that an entrepreneur has. And in one story, I smash all 3 of them. And I completely shift the viewpoint with a story that's fun. If you're listening to that story, you have no idea that I'm actually telling that story to sell you on something. You have no concept of that if I'm telling that story. None. You don't know, because you're just listening to a fun story. But in my mind, my first love is just telling stories. Like, above and beyond selling anything, it is my first love. But I'm like, if you're going to tell the story and get somebody all jazzed up and inspired, shouldn't you have a call to action to tell them to go do something? That to me is the biggest breakdown with even movies today. You get somebody all jazzed up and you watch an inspirational story, and then after, it's like, what do I go do? I have a solution for that too. When my film comes out, I have an entire solution for that for my film. Okay? So it's the idea that a story inspires action. So if a story already inspires action, a well-told story, then there should be something that you offer at the end when somebody's ready to get into action. Because every great story goes conflict. What's the conflict and dilemma that the person's facing? Start with that, right? Then we're going to search for some answers, right? Like me. Oh my God. Well, I have a conflict. I want to go after this passion, but I have a business to run. And then I go through the cycle in my head of like, man, but if like I could do this, I could do that. And I'm going through all the thoughts in my head that a customer is, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm in. I write the check. Okay. And then I'm off. And then we're wondering, is it going to work? Because every time a customer thinks about writing a check, they're wondering, is it going to work? Is it going to work? So now I'm on the search to go to London, to follow my passion. I'm on the search. I'm on the journey, right? We're going to search for the answers to see if this thing's going to work. And I have the customer in suspense listening to my story going, oh my God, is his solution that he's trying to put in place, which is this automated selling machine, is the solution actually going to work? And guess what? The customer's asking themselves the same thing. Could this thing actually work? And unless I tell them a story about someone who's gone through this journey and went through the same problems and conflict that they did and started searching for the answers and took a risk, and all of a sudden the risk paid off, unless I tell that story, in their mind, They have the belief that they need to trade time for dollars. There's not a solution for them. There's many opportunities they see, but they can't do responsibility for their business. And so they're stuck in this belief that I can't do it because I don't have the time. So they stick to trading time for dollars. They have this belief that I can't do it because I can't invest the money because I don't know if I'll get it back, or I don't know where I'm going to find the money. And so I handle all of that in the story. And that's just one good story. So recap, number one. What dilemma is your customer facing right now? Not you, not from your viewpoint, but from their viewpoint. Number two, whatever you're explaining to them, make it super simple. If you get complex with your explanation of things, your knowledge in your industry is 10 years, 20 years. Their knowledge is 10 minutes. Make it simple. Okay. Number three, once you have the dilemma established, okay, think about, are there other challenges in there? From, let's say it's time is the dilemma. Is there another challenge in there that they're facing besides time? Okay. It could be money. It could be not enough opportunity. Like, are there other dilemmas that they're facing? Write them down. Okay. Next, pick one of them. Okay. This is going to be purely like mainly a time story. Circle the time thing. All right. If money comes into it, great. If other things come into it, great. But I'm going to focus on time in this story and busting that difficulty or belief that the customer has. And then I'm going to take them on the search. The third piece is the search. So I got the dilemma and the conflict, number one. Number two, I got to make the scenario really simple in language they understand. And number three, I got to take them on the search for the answer. Search for the answer. So I'm off into the journey now. I made the decision. I'm searching for the answers. And I search, and I got to create some suspense in the search. Like, oh, it's not going to work. And all of a sudden, search. And the answer is there, breakthrough. And there's got to be a breakthrough moment in the story. A moment of breakthrough. My moment of breakthrough is I'm watching my director do his one-man play, and my automated selling machine is playing in an automated fashion at the same time. And I'm wondering, oh my God, like, is it going to work? And so in the breakthrough moment, it ends up working, but I build the suspense so good in that moment. And all of a sudden, cha-ching, sale, cha-ching, cha-ching. And that's the breakthrough moment. And after the breakthrough, and only after the moment of the breakthrough, and this is where people just mess stories up so much, is they think that the credibility and the results are what the story is about. And that's not what the story is about. It's not about the credibility and the results. It's about a breakthrough moment that in that moment in time, the customer can experience that breakthrough and go and feel what it's like to have that result or that moment. And then after that one moment, one result, then you go in and say, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And you can share the rest of your credibility after the breakthrough moment. Why? Your credibility does not sink into the customer, and the customer doesn't have an aha moment about your credibility unless you give them an aha moment first. So important. Once they have an aha moment first, the breakthrough moment, and they have an aha moment about their life through listening to your story, they've had a breakthrough, and now the results you share with them, they can actually receive. But most stories aren't like that. If you watch most stories are like, yeah, so like, you know, when I was 22, this happened, and then 25, this happened, and then I went on, and then somebody's got a clicker, and then like, and then there's me with my first $100,000, and then there's me with my first $1 million, and then there's me 10 years later with $50 million, and yeah, I built a great business, and there's my family, and end of story. That is not a story at all. It's not a story. Okay? That's just a series of events that's like, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and it does not engage an audience. It does not support helping the person break through that thing they're holding on to in terms of their dilemma or their conflict or their thinkingness about the dilemma that's got them stuck. Doesn't help them. So the story has to take them into the moment. And one of the ways you can get stories into the moment, you can bring a story into the moment by telling the story in present time. right? So rather than saying, you know, I was doing that thing, you could say like, you know, so I'm sitting at the table with my potential director, and we're at Chipotle, and he sits there and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, you know, why do you want to do a one-man play?" And I pause and I'm like, "You ever get that feeling that you're called to do something?" And he's like, "Yeah." And what I did there was I bring you into the present moment. So good storytelling will bring somebody into the present moment as if it's happening right now. And if you can paint the scene a little bit, so we're in Chipotle, we're sitting at this table, and you can give scenery. Scenery gives imagery, and imagery puts somebody in the scene with present time talking about the moment, and boom, it's game on. And that is how you tell stories, and that is how you sell in stories. And it's magical. So, in closing, right? You will, what if there's not a free resource, there's not one down here, we'll put some type of free resource down below to help you more with this. But watch the video if you didn't watch the whole thing. Make sure you get the whole thing. But more importantly, the recap is simple. One, make sure you actually resonate with the dilemma and the conflict your customer is facing, number one. Number two, figure out what that is and make it real to the customer in language they can understand. Number three, take them on a journey through the story, a search for the answers, and make the search exciting of like, is he going to get it? Oh, no, not quite. Is he going to get it? Yes, he gets it. And then bring the breakthrough moment, the moment of breakthrough in the story, so they can experience and have a shift in their belief about what's possible, and then share the results afterwards. And that's how you tell great stories. And you can do time stories, and you do money stories, and you can do loss stories, and you can do personal stories, and you can do customer success stories, all kinds of stories, all the same framework. All right. Hope it serves you guys. Hope this was worthwhile and fun. And I will see you on one of the next videos. All right. Stay well.